Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Money School. I'm very excited about today's guests. They are just a little north of where I'm at here in what I like to call freezing cold Buffalo in New York, but I can't say that because they're freezing even more than we are. They're just north up in Canada. So I am here joined by Mel and Dave, and their company name is, this is an easy one, folks, so don't get it complicated, Investor Mel and Dave, or Investor Dave and Mel, however you want to do it. So we're going to be talking about their journey. They do some really unique things. Listen up. Here's the things that they do. They buy apartments and properties, flips, with none of their own money. You've heard me talk about this, but you want to hear other people tell the story of how they do that. They use none of their own money, and they maintain 100% ownership of the properties. And how many properties? Over 100 apartments and over 24 properties done to date. So before we jump into their story, let's talk about your journey to becoming a Rebel Banker. That journey always involves you getting knowledge, you learning new things, but most importantly, you applying knowledge. Application of knowledge is the most important thing. And if you're not applying knowledge, you're going nowhere. You're literally just turning your wheels. So that's what you got to do. Take what you learn and find one thing that you can apply today. I don't care if that one thing is just grabbing a copy of one of my books, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery or The Private Money Guide. You can get either one of these books for free. You got that right. For free. You just pay the shipping. We'll send the book to you. If you're international, the shipping's a little bit more. However, you can get either one and they will teach you all about money, how to find money for your deals, how to find money for your life, your lifestyle, your family, your legacy, whatever it is you're doing. We're going to show you how money works. So let's jump right into it. So Mel and Dave, how are you?
We're fantastic. How are you, Chris?
Doing all right. So tell everybody a little bit about your business. Like what do you guys do? Where are you at?
Yes, well, we're now full-time real estate investors. We're mentors as well. And we love real estate. We love buying. We love solely buying multifamily residences using none of our own money and with no partners as well.
Yeah, we're mostly buy and hold type people.
So when you say buy and hold, are you doing BRRRRs? Are you buying multifamilies? Like, let's get in the weeds a little bit about what you mean by buy and holds, because there's lots of different ways to do that.
Yeah, and we love multifamily. So no single family dwellings for us. We had some early on. I think we have one left in our portfolio. And it was the first one we bought, and it's so low maintenance that we just keep it. But yeah, we buy multifamily dwellings, none of our own money, all creative financed. And it's basically, you BRRRR, flip to self, just buy underperforming, get it up to market value, refinance, and rinse and repeat. So that's the buy and hold strategy that we're applying.
Yeah.
Here's the hard thing. You guys are up in Canada, right north of where I'm at in Buffalo, in Ontario. Real estate's not cheap there, man. You guys are like, basically, I call everything up there the wannabe Toronto. Toronto's nuts. You can't even afford property in Toronto. But the problem with what I've seen up there is everything from Toronto is pushed all the way out. And it's right where you guys are too. So like properties aren't cheap where you're at. And how are you finding underperforming and undervalued properties in that market?
Yeah. And we're about 3 hours north of Toronto. So for properties for us, it's about 100,000 per door. So the prices are pretty reasonable. We're able to make the numbers work. Yeah. So we're able to make the numbers work. The cap rates are great. And then, how do we find these cash flowing properties, underperforming? We look at a lot of deals. So, of course we use, the typical traditional way, but we're very big on finding off market deals as well.
Yeah, that's good. Every time I think of up there, I literally, Toronto's such a powerhouse over there that I think of anything 100 miles around Toronto as just being silly. You got Hamilton, Oakville, all these different places. They're just crazy priced. And I know this because I go up there quite often because I snowboard up there, but I also have a lot of those investors coming down to Buffalo because this is where you can get those properties at between 60 and 100,000 a door. But you guys are finding that up there, which is fantastic. I would have never known that. So
it's a little secret of the north.
Yeah, I guess. So you're an hour north of Toronto, you said.
3 hours north of Toronto.
I'm sorry, 3 hours north of Toronto. What is that by? Is there any ski resorts around where you're at? I'm just trying to get an idea of like what's up there.
I'm trying to think. Like there's some halfway between North Bay and there's like Horseshoe Valley. There's I'm trying to think what else in Barrie.
Been there.
Yeah, so there's places like that, but that's about halfway to North Bay. North Bay has its own little ski hill. There's one in Sudbury about an hour from us. So we used to ski. We're not big skiers anymore. I'm trying to think of the resort. Yeah, Horseshoe.
That's okay. I mean, I know Horseshoe. I know all those, up there. So I'm getting an idea. And I know you're in North Bay. So that's, when you think North Bay, that's Lake Ontario, correct? It's the bay there, or is that its own lake?
Lake Nipissing.
Nipissing. They're all beautiful up there. I mean, everything up there is twice as beautiful as it is down here, but twice as cold. How cold does it get up there?
It gets minus 30 Celsius, right? So it's, the winters are cold. And then today it's plus 20 something. So,
you gotta take the,
go with the bad. We go to Florida for a couple of weeks in the winter.
Yeah, we always escape
snowbirds.
Yes.
Not the entire winter, but
no, because we have the kids and they're in school, but we always take them for a little getaway as well.
Awesome. So let's dive back into your humble beginnings. Let's talk about your journey. So you guys are doing all these deals now, none of your own money. It didn't start there. So take us back to the humble beginnings and don't leave out any of the nitty gritty. Like, tell us how this all worked and how you built this business.
Yeah.
So I guess before Mel and I started, so I had gotten my dream job. I wanted to be a firefighter. I'd gotten on in Ottawa initially, and then I transferred over to my hometown city of North Bay, right? So I got my dream job. I think I'm set, and I bought that little house, like we still have, for $156,000. Nothing,
It's tiny.
It's like 800 square feet. It's perfect. It took me about 20 minutes to clean the house, but I got my dream job. I bought a house. I did everything right, and I remember when Mel and I first met, one of our first dates, I literally broke off the date because I got a hydro bill, and I was like, I got to cancel the date. Like I can't do this. My hydro bill came in. I'm bummed out. I'm just going to stay home tonight. I think it was like $230 or something, but literally it devastated me. So that's where we started off again, even with a dream job, making good money.
Yeah, and I'll interrupt and say, but yet when I had met him, he was so confident. He's like, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 30 and all this. And I was like, oh, I love his drive. And I had passion for real estate, and so did Dave. And then meanwhile, a couple of weeks later, he's calling off Mr. Wannabe Millionaire. He's calling off the date because of a hydro bill. I'm like, what's happening to this guy?
So he was actually transparent of why he called the date off. He said, I got a hydro bill. I got to cancel the date.
Well, not at first, but I'm like, what's going on? Because of course, at first I'm thinking like, what happened? Like, oh, I do agree. What I'm going to do? I'm like, what is this about? Like, what's happening? He's like, oh, I'm just having a bad day. I'm like, well, why? And after probing him, he told me. I'm like, really? Anyways,
you ended up coming over and we had date night there. But so it all worked out. But so it wasn't always just, a hydro bill was my biggest worry back then. And I had my dream job and I had a house. So, that's kind of when I met Mel. You had 2 rental properties?
Yeah, I had 2 rentals.
So she really helped coach and you could see my tolerance for what was I going to say? Well, I don't know. Hydro bill crippled me at that point. So my tolerance for unexpected things
expenses.
Was very low. So so that's kind of where I met Mel, and then you had 2 already. I don't know if you want to say how you started.
I had 2 already. I was a single mom, so I was living in one of my rental apartments and in the upstairs with my 2 girls. And I knew that I wanted everything to be okay for them and for myself, of course. And I knew that and although I was working, full time, but still living paycheck to paycheck, I wanted to, create a better life for myself and for my 2 girls. And I knew that I could do so with real estate investing. So I set myself a goal. I was 33 back then. I set myself a goal of buying 10 properties before I turned 40. But I had no idea how I was going to do it because I didn't have any background in it. I didn't know really where to start. I didn't have any money for that 20% down. But that was my goal. I want to have 10 properties by the time I'm 40. But I had no idea back then how I might even go, and everybody would tell me, of course, like, well, that's unrealistic. Why would you want to do that? How are you going to manage it? Right? The naysayers. So that certainly came along with it as well.
Yeah, there's lots of naysayers, and a lot of people, the biggest problem is they take the advice from the people that have never done what you want to do in your life. You have dreams and all of a sudden someone comes in and crashes your dreams and you just think that that's okay. That's not okay. Will Rogers, if you know who he is, he says the biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. The biggest problem is what people think they know that just ain't so. And I bet you that same could be said for Canada. The biggest problem in Canada is not what people don't know. It's what they think they know that just ain't so. So I think that's universal. And that's kind of what you said. And I love the fact that you did a house hack as your first, where you lived in the one and your tenants paid the bills. And I mean, I think a lot of people, you know, that especially younger people that are trying to get into real estate, that's the perfect entry because it's very low risk. It solves two problems in one, and you can kind of get your feet wet in real estate. So I think that's awesome that you started that way. But where did it go from there?
So then we met and we knew that, okay, we had this passion for real estate. We wanted to do it, but then it's like, okay, how do we do it? So then we decided, okay, let's start working more so we can come up with a 20% down. So I was already working full-time. Dave was a firefighter. So I started, on top of working full-time, I started teaching part-time at our college, at our local college, you know, to accumulate that extra money so we can save it and buy more properties. Dave, you took on every overtime shift you could, and we did that for a while. But then what happened is that we're realizing that, it was very draining. It wasn't very fun. We're trading our time for money.
Yeah.
Right. And we got stuck because, okay, we were able to buy one or two more properties that way because I had a bit of equity in my house as well. So we bought a couple more properties, but then we got stuck. It's like, oh my gosh, like how many hours are we going to have to work to come up with that 20% down? I'm never going to get to my goal of 10 properties before turning 40 at this stage, right? So that's when we discovered, you know, kept hearing about it, creative financing, other people's money, and that's when we really decided to go for it, right?
Yeah, like we would speak with mortgage brokers and they would mention it. Why don't you do owner financing? Why don't you do private, you know, get private funds or different institutions? And not that I thought it was illegal, but I just thought, that seems shady, right? Mm-hmm. And once we actually hit that roadblock, I think we had 5 or 6, mm-hmm. and all of them had been refinanced. All of them were tapped out, right? So there was no more, you know, using your property to refinance for as your next down payment. So that's when we had to really look into creative financing. So we're kind of squeezed into it between, you know, hey, there's no more refinancing available in the properties we have, and between our goal of we wanted to keep buying real estate and grow a portfolio. So we just had no choice but to realize that creative financing was the way to go. And that's when we spoke with, I forget, but throughout Canada, yeah. But different people who were doing it, Chris. And because again, you saw my tolerance initially, yeah. The hydro bill. So we were very worried, right?
Well, I was even more, when it came to using other people's money, I was more worried. I mean, he was always skeptical to start with. I was even more worried because I thought I never ever want to be. So yeah, so two warriors together thinking, I don't feel comfortable. But it was really helpful meeting with those people who, yeah, they lost their entire portfolio, and they were kind enough, you know, to meet with us and explain to us, you know, what went wrong. And, you know, in a nutshell here, to keep it simple for today, it all came down to their exit strategy. They didn't have a clear exit strategy. And for those of you who are thinking, what's an exit strategy? Well, what I'm referring to is when you're using somebody else's money, whether it's owner financing or private funds, how are you going to pay those people back? Mm-hmm. And that's when we thought, okay, as long as we're able to really make sure to have a, you know, system strategies around that to make sure we can pay people back, we can do this.
That's, yeah, I mean, that's huge. So I always talk to people when I'm talking about money. I always tell them, you know, first, people are going to lend you money. If you're going to go get money, first, don't ask for money, but people are going to lend you money based on your relationship with them. And they're going to be concerned about a few things, but first they want to trust you and they want to make sure you're credible. Secondly, they're going to want a return on their investment. That's easy. Everybody can promise a return on investment or say, hey, I'll give you this. But the most important thing is what you said, the exit. They also want their capital returned. They don't just want a return on their capital, they want their capital returned. And that's where the exit strategy comes in. So I'm glad you brought that up. So with that, so you kind of ventured down there. What were some of the stumbling blocks? I mean, were you nervous about it? I mean, he's nervous about paying a hydro bill. I mean, you're going out asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars or going out presenting opportunities for hundreds of thousands. Like, how did you bridge that gap?
Yeah, and after we spoke with those other investors that had literally lost their portfolio because they didn't bank on, you know, how am I going to pay this money back? So after speaking with that, we knew, and it's kind of our philosophy, we had to exit the deal before we even entered, right? So if we knew, hey, you know, we have a cash flow analysis matrix, and if we knew in there the numbers would show us how are we paying them back and have plan A, B, C, right? Then given a catastrophic world event, we're going to be good to pay them back. So once we started seeing that, because we look at a lot of deals, or we still do. Once we started seeing those diamonds in the rough that would pop up, and those underperforming, where it was like, you know what, the rents are all underperforming. They're well below the ceiling of where we can bring them up. The price per door, like, this doesn't make sense in the area. We can bring it up. So once we started seeing those deals pop up every once in a while, we knew those were the solid ones where, hey, we can almost, as long as there's not a catastrophic world event, we can bring the value up and have that exit strategy. So we knew that there was, how do I say it, like a cushion in the deal. There was layers, right? There was a layer of, a layer in the deal. So even if it didn't come to fruition as much as we thought, there was still enough of a layer there that we could still pay back the private lender. So that's, once we saw that and got comfortable, that's when we just, let's find these deals all the time and wait for those deals. Don't just, like, we see it all the time. Don't just pounce on a deal because someone's offering you money. Like,
Yes.
We turn down those deals all the time. And yes, it does hurt because you want to try and make it work, but the numbers aren't there.
And that's a good point. I think a lot of people get excited, because, all of a sudden they're able to access money. All of a sudden they find a deal with owner financing or seller financing, and they're excited about it. They want to jump on it. It's like, okay, but this is about creating long-term wealth. You don't want to rush your decision. It has to be logical. It has to be numerical, right? You want to make sure that you're, like you said, you're able to pay back that capital. And that's how people fail sometimes. They just get excited. They want to do it. I want to get into the deal, no money down, and they're not thinking long term. Yeah. Yes, you're borrowing some, but you do have to pay that money back. You got to make sure you have a plan to do so.
Yeah. A lot of people, when they don't think about that part, and then all of a sudden the note comes due and they owe that money back, this is usually their thought. they start wondering, oh my God, what did I do? So yeah, that's very important. That's some great advice. What struggles did you have on this journey?
Oh boy.
At first, convincing credibility, right? Convincing the sellers. Like, our bread and butter, when we did the 12 properties in less than 12 months, right? We used owner financing for about 90% of the deals. And when I say owner financing, we'd have a credit union or a financial institution or mortgage broker give us a first mortgage of up to 75 to 80% loan to value. And the issue, like we had mentioned earlier, was coming up with that downstroke every time, the 20 or 25%. So we knew we had to get the owners involved in financing it and doing the vendor take back or seller or owner, however you want to call it. Everyone has a different term for it, but it was that credibility piece. Like you said, Chris, okay, we're going to give you X percent of interest on your deal. Here's how we're going to pay it back. But all they cared about is, how are you going to pay me back, and the exit strategy. And again, they had to like us. So the first couple of deals, credibility, it got easier as we did more and more, because we'd say, hey, look at this person, we paid them back. But yeah, that was a big stumbling block. And then also finding the institutions that would allow this. And that's where I want people to not give up. Like in our mentees, they'll say, I called the bank today and they said that's whatever that the owner financing is illegal. And it's like, okay, well, it's not illegal. Go to the next institution. Just because they don't do it doesn't mean it's illegal. Exactly. So go to the next financial institution. Don't go, like in Canada, there's the big five banks, and in the States as well, there's the big five, the big four, the big five, and they probably won't allow that, and that's fine. So go to a B lender, go to a credit union, go to a private lender. So that was another struggle, was finding the institutions that would play ball with us and would allow for 100% finance deals. And again, ratios have to be met. We understand that, but convincing the owners. First off, convincing ourselves.
Yes. True. Yeah. Roadblock one.
Convincing the owners that we had an exit strategy and they'd get their capital back, Chris. And then number three, it was again finding the institutions that would allow the creative financing like we wanted.
Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's a fantastic journey and how you did it. And now you've done that how many times? 100 plus times?
Yeah, we now own over 100 units. Our big year it was when in 2017 we bought 12 multifamily in less than 12 months, and that was using our own money.
Yeah,
and this was our
6
units, and that was our side hustle. We're both working full time back then, 3 kids at home, and that's the thing. There's, it is doable, right? We took action, and we didn't watch any TV that year, right? So we sacrificed short term, but that changed our lives. We were both able to quit our full time job in our 30s because of it, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, that's just a great story on how you've done that. Now, do you only do passive income? Do you do any flips, any wholesale, anything like that? I know wholesale is a little different up there, but you guys can do it. It's just structured differently.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say, you're bang on, Chris. The wholesaling, I wouldn't call us wholesalers. Okay. Do we do it? Yes, but we're not wholesalers. Mm-hmm. In our mentoring group, and here's how it usually goes is, we analyze so many deals all the time. Like right now we have 4 deals at the bank. We just did a massive refinance at the end of March. So during COVID, the CMHC, Canadian Mortgage Housing Corporation, it's like the AAA financing here. They just refinanced 4 buildings for $4 million. So we just did that. And that was, it was a while getting done because they had to dot the I's, cross the T's, go through our portfolio. So anyway, they went through that. So we just refinanced. So now we're at the point where we were on hold for so long with these big refinances. Now we're back to aggressively purchasing again. So we have a bunch of deals under contract. And where I'm getting at with the wholesaling is whenever we find deals, we always try, I want to buy all of them. We want to buy all the deals that make sense.
Yeah, we selfishly want to keep it all, but sometimes
we can't.
Stuck because we're on hold, right? Whether we're buying or we're refinancing. And in that case, then we'll wholesale it to somebody, to one of our mentees. So that's kind of how we do it. But no, we don't put it out to everyone. We're not full-time wholesalers. We just, if we're going to miss out on it and it's a cash flowing property, might as well somebody, have the opportunity to cash flow. If I can't be the one, that we'll pass it on to somebody who can, type thing. And then flipping, for your flipping question, I mean, we flip to self more than anything. So we might do if it's a bank repo, for example, and then we'll renovate it, and usually we'll end up keeping it. And a couple of times our thoughts were, okay, we're going to take it, and then we're going to, have that lift. We're going to make it look really great. We're going to sell it and keep that money. But then we get the tenants in, they're good tenants, the rents are high. Let's just refinance and keep that cash flowing property and keep the appreciation, keep the cash flow. So we're more, our strategy is more buy and hold those multifamilies.
You guys do all your own property management? You hire that out? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so we, oh boy, speaking of struggles earlier, we used to do it all ourselves, mm-hmm. and we grew, as I mentioned, we grew very quickly, mm-hmm. and back then we were still doing everything, so we kind of got bottlenecked for a while. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't keep up with, working and these properties and everything else. So then we kind of had a choice, okay, so we needed help, so we can either outsource it or hire, and we decided to hire. So now we have an entire team. So we have our own property management company. So we have a director of operations that oversees that entire branch. So although we'll look at the KPIs, the key performance indicators and all that. So we're somewhat involved, but somebody else is overseeing that branch, along with the construction team. And we have a virtual assistant from Mexico and all that helping as well.
That's awesome. And you guys recently wrote a book. Let's talk about the book.
Yes, it's Real Estate Investing Secrets, an OBS Guide to Freedom and Wealth. It's a short book on purpose. Mm-hmm. We actually wrote this book shortly after our accident.
I don't know if you can see, it's only 88 pages. We made it skinny. There you go.
Hey, cheers to short and to the point.
Two super thin ones.
Awesome. There you go, Chris. Awesome. We wrote this book, Chris. We were on our way. I don't know if you ever heard our story or not. We're on our way to a real estate investing conference, and we got in a really, really bad vehicle accident. Transport driver hit our vehicle. We were on the 3-lane highway. I'm not sure if you know where Canada's Wonderland is, mm-hmm. Near Toronto.
I've driven by it a lot of times.
Okay, so it was right there. So 3-lane highway, transport driver hit our car. We ended up rolling across the 3-lane highway. We landed upside down. Our vehicle landed upside down. It was completely crushed. And somehow we survived. And even the cops, they can't believe that we're alive. They're like, these kind of accidents, people don't survive. But we did. And it was, we have those days, those life-changing events. That certainly was a a life-changing
like an aha
day.
moment,
Yeah.
right?
Because we used to be the opposite. We used to be extremely secretive. Like nobody knew how we were buying these properties. We never used to do podcasts. We never used to do webinars. Like we kept everything that, and we thought, okay, let's not tell anyone. We had a, what do you call that? Like
we were secretive. We would hoard the information, right?
Yeah. And that life-changing day, after that day, I was off with a severe concussion. And I remember thinking about going back to work would literally make me feel physically ill. Like I just made me feel ill. And because we already had a portfolio, I never went back. I quit my job afterwards, never went back. And then I thought we thought to ourselves, why are we not helping other people create this financial time, location freedom for themselves as well through real estate investing? There's properties everywhere. There's money. There's abundance of properties and abundance of money everywhere. Why are we not helping other people? And that's when we decided to write our book, and it was released within 6 months.
Yeah.
It became a #1 bestseller the same week.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So.
How did you guys release it? So how did you go from like just writing the book to a #1 bestseller? How did that happen? Because that doesn't just happen.
It doesn't just happen. No. So I was very active. So after the accident, from being not active to very active on social media. So we got very active on social media. I got people involved, I guess, with the book and the book cover and all that kind of stuff. And then we had an email list, and we sent it out. Hey, it's being released, and it became a #1 seller. It's been a #1 seller numerous times in different categories as well. So super.
Well, congratulations. That's
amazing,
awesome.
Right?
Thank you.
Putting it out. It was on my vision board as well. I'm pointing over there because my vision board's over there too. But it was on my vision board as well. So the power of
visualization.
And Dave always laughs. He's like, my teachers never would have thought I would have had a best-selling book.
So what's next for you guys?
Yeah, what's next? So the mentoring program is going very well. That's super exciting. And
we love it.
Well, yeah, it's so fun. Every Wednesday we go live with them. It just re-energizes you. It gets us very hyped up and excited about real estate. Like I said, we just finished a big refinance. So how there's always a life cycle of the deals, it seems. So we raised the buildings up, we refinanced. Now the buildings are up and came to fruition. So now we got to go buy a whole whack more to do the same thing. So Mel does most of social media. I do more of the deal finding. So I'm very happy that it's deal hunting season again, right? So I've got to go and find a bunch of buildings for us to bring up to fruition. He comes in singing every morning in the office. Our director always says all right, it's buying time again, because Dave gets super excited. So I love it. So we're gonna be buying a lot of buildings soon, and continuing to grow our social media and continuing to grow the mentoring. Yeah, and I love the mentoring. It's changing lives, and I think that's really my purpose now. I just want to really help people, achieve this freedom, because it is doable. There's nothing, from a single mom living in a 2-bedroom apartment thinking, how am I ever gonna get through this, to being able to quit our jobs and have this freedom that we have now.
So on this journey, I got my final question is what was your biggest internal obstacle?
For me, it was fear. It was fear of everything. Fear of buying, more properties. How am I going to manage it? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do this with kids? Fear of using other people's money. How am I going to pay them back? Fear of, I was fearful of quitting even though I already had enough properties to sustain, I was fearful of even quitting my job. In a sense, I almost needed that accident to give me a reality check. Okay, it's time, get out, right? You're okay, go on your way. So I think a lot of times it was fear for me to lack of confidence. So fear and lack of confidence in my own skills. And looking back, I talked about my goal, of 10 properties before turning 40. And before turning 40, we had 24 properties. And I underestimated what I'm able to do as well.
Well, that's good. How about you?
That's more than one thing, Chris. I had a lot of things.
Set it up for both of us.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep mine short because I guess I have to.
Right.
Is the way I just didn't have that. I had the entrepreneurial mindset, but I was getting scared. So and I love this saying is, you can drive from New York to California, one, red light at a time. You'd never wait for every single green light to drive. You make your way and you stop and you kind of continue going. So that was my thing, is I didn't know how, when I came to that stop, I would just figure it out. So that was my biggest thing, is I needed to see the entire process through and hope that I could make it all the way through, and which is never the case, right? There's always going to be, no pun intended, of fire. There's always going to be something to kind of go through. But that was my biggest thing, was knowing, or being able to understand that you're going to come to a red light. That's fine. You're still going to get to your voyage, but sometimes you gotta take a pit stop, right? Or you gotta take a red light.
Do you realize a lot of people don't even get into real estate or get started in anything that they want to do for that reason right there? Because they think they got to have everything figured out. They think they got to know how to do everything before they get started. And that is exactly how you don't ever accomplish your dreams, is you think you need to know everything. You know how you're going to learn? Fail. You're just going to go, you're going to take the leap, and you're going to do it. And every stoplight, as you mentioned, that's where you're going to learn. You're going to figure it out. And if you fail, you'll learn more failing than you ever will succeeding. So just get used to it. If your fear is failing, your fear is, how am I going to do this? How are you ever going to know until you actually do it? And so many people don't ever do it because they listen to somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about, but yet provides advice because their own fear transpires over to you, and then that escalates your fear. And guess what? That's why there's always a job for everybody else. There's always somebody hiring. So you want to trade hours for dollars, or dollars for hours, whichever way you want to do it. There will never not be somebody waiting to hire you, and then you can work for them. Or you could follow your dreams, take that, and just get started. Just like I said earlier, it's taking action. That's what gets it done. And that's what you mentioned. So I love it. So if my listeners wanted to get a hold of you, wanted to get a copy of your book, wanted to learn more about you, how do they find you?
Yes, and wow, that was very well said, Chris.
Yeah.
So well articulated.
And just to jump in, the other thing you said about, I forget how you worded it now. I think you said Miller or Will, or
Will Rogers. The biggest problem in America and Canada is not what people don't know; it's what they think they know that just ain't so.
Oh, I love that. Anyway, I'm gonna use that, Chris.
It's not mine. It's Will Rogers. I mean, he's the one that did it. But yeah, it was a great statement. I say it almost every day of my life. I say that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Awesome. So we are we have a strong presence on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and just search for Investor Mel Dave. That's our username. You'll be able to find out about us there. Or we also have a free masterclass regarding how we bought these 12 properties in 12 months. And it's actually www.12in12months.com. So 12in12months.com.
Awesome. So folks, you guys heard it. I mean, there's all different journeys, all different ways of getting to where you want to be. You just heard another one. You keep hearing these. So at this point, you guys have to decide what you're going to do. Are you going to chase your dreams, or are you going to chase somebody else's dreams and help them accomplish what they dreamt up and what life they wanted? You got to take a stand and decide. This is happening during the COVID. So this episode was being recorded during the COVID-19. Some of the hardest times are about to come. This is that time where you decide, are you going to be looking at this as an obstacle, or are you going to look at this as an opportunity? That's it. You're either going to be the light in the darkness, or you're going to be lost in the darkness. There is no two ways about it. So get out there and take action. And one other thing too, in your journey to becoming a rebel banker, we've created the ultimate community for you. It's a community that you basically can come in. We've got all sorts of trainings from everything you would ever want to know, from mindset to money, lots on money. That's all I ever do, right? Real estate and so many other things. 2 hours of group coaching with myself and my mentors. And that journey, that community is easy for you to join. It's $19 a month, $190 a year. It's a real bank buster, but that's your first step. Join us for that. Join us for the movement. That's what we're calling it. It's called MSTV. And how you do that is go to moneyschoolrei.com/TV and join the movement, and we'll see you on the inside. But with that being said, thank you, Mel and Dave, for joining us, or Dave and Mel, and we will check you guys in the next episode. We'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. Bye, Chris.
Thank you.